Hello, everybody. Just going to give it a moment or two for people to join and then we'll get kick-started. Okay, I think we can get started. So, hello, a very warm welcome to Vetstoria's webinar today, Save Admin Time Using Vetstoria. To get us kick-started today, we're going to just go through a couple of introductions and then a little bit of housekeeping before we begin. So first of all, I would like to introduce my colleague, Antoinette, who is joining me today. So Antoinette, without further ado, please introduce yourself for our audience today.
Hi there. So I've got 2 decades of experience in the veterinary field. My journey began as a work experience student, working my way up to head nurse. I've worked in a variety of practice settings. And now in my current role here at Vetstoria, I'm the senior client implementation specialist, and I leverage on my extensive background in veterinary nursing and management to guide our clients through the implementation journey. Passionate about sharing my knowledge and experiences with others, and really excited to contribute to today's discussion, Vicky.
Thank you, Antoinette. And as you all can see, my name is Victoria or Vicky. I don't mind. Before embarking with Vetstoria 5 years ago, I too was a veterinary nursing clinic for 15 years, have experience of working with independent, corporate owned, charity, referral, emergency, you name it. We've been around the houses. And so really happy, as Antoinette mentioned, to be able to contribute today. In addition to that, I have 4 dogs, 1 cat, a yellow-bellied turtle. So probably like most of us on this call, a little bit animal crazy to boot. So a little bit of housekeeping. At the bottom of your screen, you'll see that there is a chat and a Q&A option. We really want to hear your thoughts on this webinar, so feel free to pile in questions or comments about your experiences in clinic, and we'll be certain to address those towards the end of the webinar today. So let's get started. So what are we going to cover today? So the whole aim of this webinar is to provide you valuable insights and give you actionable items to enhance your time management within clinic. So we will be looking at the role of the receptionist, the importance of time management, demonstrating Vetstoria as a tool, what solution can we provide, and lastly, we'll round that off with the Q&A session. So, how the role of the receptionist has evolved. And I would like to quote a lovely lady called Alison Lambert. Some of you may have heard of her, and she actually works for OnSwitch. And she did a webinar with us a couple of years ago, and I found her description of receptionists really fitting. She actually doesn't like the word receptionists, and she feels that it implies this passive role that only deals with inbound activity. And in recent years, this role has significantly changed, and a preferable term is a client or customer care coordinator, which I have to say I agree with. I agree with. And what the customer care coordinators do, yes, of course, there's that inbound activity, but it is more about outbound activity as well. You're proactively working with your clients, proactively helping your team members, you're interacting, you're anticipating tasks, and it has evolved so much more than it has, in the last 20 years. Now, fundamentally on this slide here, you can see what hasn't changed is the first point of contact. You, of course, the first people that the pet owner will see and deal with. You are booking multiple appointments per day, corresponding via emails, and answering the phone. But how we can see the role has changed is by looking at data actually captured from the British Veterinary Reception Association, and we can share that link with you a little bit later. But we can see here nearly 80% of you are now helping the clinical team to restrain animals. So goodness knows where we would be if you were not there helping us in the back room, as we say, or in the prep room with those patients. At least half of you are doing cashing up or banking. Nearly half of you are managing insurance claims. At least a third of you are involved in dispensing treatments. And again, nearly a third of you involved in debt collection, and 13% are involved in ordering and managing stock levels. So looking at the amount of multitasking you're doing at the front desk, I'd like to bounce this back to Antoinette, and drawing on her experience as a team leader in clinic, what were the common sort of pain points and challenges you came across for yourself and your team when you're trying to manage all of these different tasks?
Um, so I think, yeah, I echo what is seen in the survey here. The receptionists face overwhelming demands, um, serving as the primary point of contact for clients. Um, for me, gosh, um, an example, if I can give an example, in the later stages of my pregnancy, one of my pregnancies, I wasn't able to continue with nursing duties, and actually I had to join the front of house and realize that their role was so much more, that than we normally see, or we normally think it is. And yeah, really in my time there, took my hat off to the team, because they're juggling so many things. The dispensing the meds, the managing the stock, the cleaning, the tidying, the all of those things.
Mm.
Um, and trying to, when you've got a client maybe that's just been through a difficult situation, where perhaps they've had to, if their beloved pet put to sleep, and they've come out very, very upset, waiting in line, wanting to pay the bill, or find out what the next steps are. And you've got all of these things going on, the phone lines ringing, you've heard the label dispenser go off for the medication, from another consult behind you, and all you want to do is just reach out and give them, a hug, or acknowledge their loss, and try and support them in this time. And that's really difficult for
Absolutely.
them. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I have to echo this, and I have a very vivid memory working a shift where we didn't have a receptionist. We didn't have cover for a receptionist going on leave, and rightly so, they were going on leave. And I have to say, this was probably one of the most hellish shifts I've ever worked. I remember being in Parvo Land with a puppy, and the vet gesturing to me because the phone was incessantly ringing. And I remember just really struggling and being at the front desk, making sure that the clients in the waiting room were being nurtured and looked after. And it was safe to say that when that receptionist came back on shift, I gave them a huge hug and said how much I missed them, because it was utterly true that I could not get through my day without the fundamental use of the receptionists, and
Absolutely.
that's not to be underestimated for sure.
Mm.
So looking at the next slide here, so considering the multitasking that is required from receptionists, why is it important to look at our time management? And you can see on this slide here, we want you to get breaks. If you have a good work-life balance, there is predictability throughout your day. The schedule is organized, your tasks are organized. We want you to go for those breaks. And you can see here that it does lead to higher productivity, creativity, and focus, plus reduces errors. Now, nearly 90% of employees feel refreshed after a lunch break. 78% say breaks away from desks enhance job performance. breaks increase work happiness by 59% and personal happiness by 43%, and just 29 minutes outside boosts productivity by 45%. So these numbers are really important because we want you to step away. We don't want you eating that sandwich while you're answering emails, and before you know it, there's a queue outside ready for the afternoon. Sort of pickups from surgeries, etc. We want you to be able to take that step away and feel refreshed, not just for your well-being, but also for productivity reasons as well. Now, this slide here is actually using information from Galaxy Vets, and there was a paper published last year, which again, we'll share the link with you a little bit later on in the webinar. But Dr. Ivan, who led this initiative, he's a vet, he's an entrepreneur, and he's very passionate about burnout in the veterinary industry. And what he recognizes here are the triggers on this screen. And by using effective time management, hopefully we can reduce some of them. Now, whilst I would love it if Vetstoria could solve all 6 here for you, unfortunately, I don't think that will be the case. But certainly what we can address is the feeling of a lack of control and also the work overload. Now, it's a common misconception that Vetstoria may give you more work, or you may feel, more out of control as we sort of move appointment booking online for some of your clients. But it's in fact the opposite. You get to customize and design the rules and be in total control of what your pet owners can and cannot do online. And we are going to reduce the work overload at the front desk for you. Excellent. So looking at some of these triggers here from the British Veterinary Receptionists Association, there were some negative comments that were sort of logged by the respondents. So we can see that there is an increase in customer complaints and negative behaviour, an increase in responsibility and workload, non-reception duties, plus a decrease in staff morale. So at Vetstoria, what we try to consider is utilizing, effective time management alongside Vetstoria. How can we boost staff morale? How can we decrease your workload? And how can we decrease some of those customer complaints? And again, Antoinette, I'd like to draw on your experience here. What commonly came up for you in clinic regarding customer complaints?
I think well, before the pet owner even entered the clinic, was the getting through to them on the phone line. So whether it be, it's just the complaints, that they're constantly ringing, or they're put on hold, when they do get through, but not being able to kind of get to the point of why they're calling in the first place. Waiting times. So yeah, once they're in the clinic, long waiting times and not being informed of the waiting times as well. So communication breakdown there between the, front of house
Yeah.
and the client, perhaps. And then of course, you have the financial complaints as well. Dissatisfaction over the price, unexpected being presented, with an unexpected bill, at the end, maybe an estimate's not been given to them prior to. So yeah.
And did this have quite a profound impact on the team as well? Because as they're front of house, they're managing most of these complaints, aren't they?
Yeah, I think, the increased workload and responsibilities of the reception team can cause the client wait times to be increased. And of course, if they're taken away from the front desk, so to speak, that kind of attention to detail in keeping pet owners informed of wait times, for example, might not be there.
Yeah.
And it just puts a strain on the staff morale. the level of care and service that can be provided to the clients. Um, Again, I mentioned before about the bereaved pet owner, not having enough time to care and
Mm.
nurture them due to the phone lines ringing off the hook.
Yes,
Uh,
yeah, absolutely. And
Definitely has an impact. Yeah.
I think you raised two very good points. You mentioned, first of all, about clients not being able to get through on the phones because it is just ridiculously busy. And we saw this, of course, at the height of the pandemic as well,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
thereafter with the puppy kitten boom. Um, and one thing that I would like to emphasize is Vetstoria, we want to serve as your third arm, as an extension of you in the clinic. So we want to be able to take those non-urgent, non-eventful appointments away so that they can book online seamlessly and that you can free up then the time and the phone lines for those clients that really do need to speak to you. Perhaps it is urgent or an emergency and they need to get through to you quickly. So that's a really good point, Antoinette, to mention. And second of all, with the multitasking, as you mentioned, the customer complaints, it's interesting and maybe food for thought for another time. But I wonder how much time is lost when we kind of stop start. When we start a task, we get distracted, we have to then go complete another task rather than having that kind of predictability within our day and
Mm.
organization. I know certainly that if I'm working on tasks and I'm distracted, I'm losing time ultimately in between and focus. So it's very good points that you mention here. And on the next slide, so again, this was captured from the VRA survey. And the first comment, so this was some feedback from a receptionist that says that they especially love helping clients and their animals in times of need, such as emergency situations, staying calm while triaging over the telephone and reassuring the client when they're in a state of panic can be very rewarding when there is a positive outcome. This comment really struck out to me because I think it just highlights that, like vets and nurses, the receptionist role is a vocation. Not many receptionists choose the job just for a job. They have a love for people or pets, and they're naturally that caregiver. So when your working environment can produce comments that we see here that is really positive and fulfilling, we're so happy to see that. The second comment is some negative feedback where a receptionist felt, that they're, of course, usually dealing with the annoyed clients for delays, generally dread coming into work. Young receptionists come and leave. Jobs need more recognition. We are the face of veterinary practices, and the first impressions and contacts are with us. I agree. And again, these type of comments make us think of Vetstoria. How can we get more receptionists to sound like example one here at the top? There we go. Sorry, I skipped forward. Where you're actually getting that sense of purpose fulfillment. You've been able to support a pet owner in a time of need, as opposed to chasing those tasks, running out of time. And then, of course, it's just stressful for your clients and for yourself. So ultimately, we want to help you and save them time. Excellent. So on to the next slide here. So in the demonstration today, we're just going to go over some key elements here that are very important for the reception team. And I'm kind of just going to go a little bit back and forth to show you the Vetstoria booking tool as well and how we can mirror your setup within the clinic. So first of all, Antoinette, if we look at the calendars and scheduling, how important is this for a receptionist within a veterinary clinic?
Oh, so this is very important to mirror the setup in clinic. The objective is to ensure the appointments are well staffed, patient care is optimized. We, need to minimize disruptions, and of course maintain continuity of care. So we want to prevent overbooking, um, improve that communication between the clinic and the pet owner. Um, and
Absolutely. And receptionists, well, they'll follow this rota like the Bible, right? It's a
yeah,
huge part of their working day and activity, looking
yeah.
at the appointment schedule, slots, and knowing exactly when to book and when. And this operation is really fundamental for the nurses, for the vets. There's kind of like a domino effect here as well. And in addition to this, emergency slot management, again, a very important function in the practice management system. Can you elaborate a little bit on that, Antoinette?
Um, so yeah, I mean, I think a lot of practices have emergency slots or book on the day slots. They don't want to sort of overbook with those routine appointments. And ensure and likewise ensure that there are enough routine appointments to serve clients, that they're not kind of booked in the other way as well. So we can mirror what we sort of how we manage the diary setup and
Absolutely.
there.
And
Yeah.
what I'll do, just for the audience listening, is I'm just going to exit this presentation so you can see how we mirror this in the Vetstoria account here. So this account, forgive me, it's our test or demo account, so it's going to look a little bit weird and wonderful in places. But I hope to give you some key insights into how we get a veterinary clinic like yourselves set up with Vetstoria. So I'm going to jump straight into the settings here. And there is a whole host of customizable settings. So going back to what I said before, you decide the preferences and the rules here, and we work with you to get this all set up. So there really is so much you can do. But we'll focus first of all on this clinicians tab. So just very briefly, when we set up an account with Vetstoria, we're going to connect with your practice management system using an API. And what we are able to do is retrieve your calendars directly from the PIMS. Now, this can be set up based on room or per clinician, per nurse. And what we're then able to do, again, following your direction, is choose which columns we would like to use for online booking. So as you can see with the example on the screen, I've chosen a few doctors and then a column for nurse appointments as well. What we don't want, of course, is to allow the ops diary or the inpatient diary to be accessible online and for random appointments to start appearing. In addition to this, you can see we've got the excluded appointment types. So what we ensure is that anything like nurse appointments are excluded from the vet column and vice versa. Any vet appointments cannot book into the nurse column. So there's no danger of those appointments landing in the wrong place and causing a hindrance there. The excluded species works in a similar fashion. If Dr. Smith is allergic to rabbits, we will make sure they cannot book in to her schedule. Equally, you may have a cat-friendly clinic, and maybe that's consult room 1, and we do not want to allow dogs to be able to schedule in that room. And as you can see here, perhaps nurses will deal with most species, but birds and reptiles, we like to leave to the vets. So there's a lot of customization here in the sort of most important part, which vets, which nurses are we going to use for online booking, and what are some of the rules that we can mirror that you do internally. In addition to this, it's important to mention that you can also block off slots in your practice management system. So if there are slots for lunch breaks, other appointments, we take those into account. We cannot allow double bookings. In addition to this, you probably will block out holiday dates, etc. But you can also manage that in Vetstoria. So we've got the example on the screen here of the bank holidays for this year. So this just ensures that we're not going to allow time slots to be booked on these days. They will be deemed closed. And you can add further dates, whether that's per clinician, per nurse here, or again, you can block it out within your schedule itself. Now, when we consider what Antoinette was mentioning a moment ago regarding emergency slots and management, we have a lovely feature called slot exclusions. And what we can do is create rules based on the day of the week, the times, the appointment types in use, per calendar, and species as well. So just to give you a bit of insight here, if we look at the vaccination rules, perhaps you don't want to do any on a Monday morning because you've got the backlog of the weekend to manage. What we can see here is we will allow appointments between 1 and 5 o'clock on a Monday. Between Tuesday and Friday, perhaps it resume normal hours, and on a weekend, they'll be switched off. And this is just an example that can be customized to your liking. In addition to this, if we look at the consultation rules, it could be that you're actually open from 8 a.m. until 6 p.m. But perhaps for online booking, we begin at 10 a.m., ending at 5. So that crucial morning period where you are dealing with emergencies, admits, you know that you can manage those effectively as well as at the end of the day. Another example is if you do choose to allow appointments such as quality of life appointments online, you may want to choose a quieter time of the day, perhaps just before lunch, in order for those clients to book in with you, just so that it's a little bit more of a dignified experience for them. So this just gives you a bit of an insight how we can manage and choose which calendars are offered online and the timings and available slots per appointment that can be allowed as well. So back to the presentation here. If we can just, Antoinette, maybe highlight the importance and the varied scenarios with regards to appointment management and payments.
Yeah, so I think from my time in clinic, new clients, for example, if a new client was joining the practice, they would be given double appointment. So if it was 15 minutes, they'd be given 30 minutes, as opposed to those kind of returning clients that would be given the standard sort of 15-minute appointment. So longer for those. The practice that I was at was a training hospital. So we had vet students or new grad vets. And of course, you know, they're not going to be conducting the same what word do I want to say? The same kind of scale of appointments that the more experienced vets would cover. And they'd certainly maybe need a little bit more time in the appointments to allow for them to go through everything that's required. So again, a longer duration for those less experienced, you know, members of the team. And then if I think about, yeah, the new clients, yeah, double appointments, sort of allowing time to when they come into the practice, maybe we'd want them to come a little bit before so we can capture some new client information, maybe the clinical history, those types of things as well, sort of we want to capture.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And payments, of course, as well, are an integral part of the receptionist role.
Yeah. So payments, oh gosh.
Where do you begin?
Where do we begin? Yeah, with payments. So I remember again going back to the time where I spent on reception on the front desk when I was heavily pregnant. Um there was one particular client was a serial repeat offender for no shows. They'd ring up, they'd book in their appointment, and you knew that they wouldn't turn up the
Yeah.
following day. And this kind of went on and on and on for about a year. And we kept sort of threatening to charge the cost of the consultation fee. Eventually we did, and we never saw them again after
Oh.
that.
So this,
But
yeah, this is a
yeah,
problem.
it's a problem. It's a problem that we know in clinic.
Absolutely. So let me again just hop over to the account in Vetstoria to just show you what we can do with regards to appointment management and payments here. So we have this lovely appointment type screen. Hello. Hopefully that's just log flipping across. There we go. Okay, so there's a lot of information to sort of digest on this screen. So please, if you need sort of further clarity or have any questions, be sure to pop them in the chat and I can address them at the end. But just to give you a quick example, I've added a few appointment types here that we commonly see that are the most sort of popular bookings that are made online by pet owners. And this again can be decided by yourselves in clinic. But for simplicity, we have vaccination here at the top. You can choose which clients can book these appointments, whether it's all clients, new or returning. And you can see that I have actually duplicated this because I want to stipulate different rules depending on the client. So a new client will have 30 minutes with the vet, whereas an existing client will have 15 minutes here. So this is again where you can customize it to your liking. And we can have appointments such as consultation, pet health club checks, rechecks, that quality of life consult that we saw a little bit earlier, and then nurse appointments such as anal glands and nail clips. But really, it can be an array and a different variety depending on what's popular at your clinic. Now, what's also really important here is this little box that says the message to be included. So we can add some instructions for your clients, and this will land in their confirmation email. So for a returning client that's booking in a vaccine, we ask them to bring their vaccine records with you. So again, just mirroring the sort of repetitive instructions that you'll be saying on a daily basis, but providing those online. Now, in this little drop-down menu, we've got an option that says availability. So here, again, you've got some more customizations. You can decide, for example, do you want to put a maximum appointment count for new clients booking in a vaccine per day? So you can, of course, decide this and enter that limit. Commonly, we see this in use for those quality of life consults. Perhaps the clinics only want to allow a maximum of 2 per day. Now, the gap to the earliest available slot is 48 hours. So what this means for any new client booking in a vaccine, they're not going to see availability now until Thursday, 5 p.m., if there's slots available, of course. So what this allows you to do as a clinic is to register them on the system ahead of time and obtain any relevant medical history. So we basically put this buffer time in place. And again, there's a whole array of different timeframes here that can suit your requirements. The other setting is the duration to the furthest available slot. How far out is it acceptable for them to book this appointment? And usually 1 month is adequate here. But if I scroll down and just give you the example of a consultation for an existing client, perhaps the pet is sick or injured and they can see you in 1 hour's time. Again, if the slots are available and you're not fully booked, we would ask them to call if that is the case. And again, if they're sick and injured, we want to encourage they book this appointment within a 1 week or 2 week period. We don't want, say, a gunky eye booking out 1 month, 2 months plus. So again, we can set these preferences up for you. And echoing what Antoinette said a little bit earlier on, should I say, was the new graduates. So what we are able to do is when we set this up online, we use this feature called the custom duration. And I'm just clicking there. There we go. So we can select and add a rule. So Dr. Harry, what appointment types does Dr. Harry see? And then we can allocate, say, 30 minutes for all appointments. So where there were some 15-minute appointments there, we are going to make sure that Dr. Harry gets double the time to nurture and, of course, look after those clients and not be too stressed at the end of the day. So we are able to accommodate those situations here. And then if we just look at payments, so for those that were maybe a little bit eagle-eyed, you would have seen that there is a payment option in the drop-down menu. And what you are able to do is select which appointments and clients have to make a payment up front. So what this means is they cannot book an appointment until they make payment. And that's what we see here with full payment being mandatory. And you can decide as a clinic, do you want to ask for the full amount or perhaps a deposit? And what we've seen in sort of the last couple of years, especially, Most clinics will use it for new clients only, as opposed to existing clients, to prevent those no-shows and to make sure they've got that pet owner engagement and commitment there. And what we can also do, we can add your refund policy, and this will go to your client's email confirmation. So this is just a standard message here. It's non-refundable, but you can add your own policy. If they cancel within 24 hours, they could be refunded, or the amount will contribute to an appointment in the future. So we can make sure that we keep your pet owners well informed here. Excellent. So let's now talk, Antoinette, about the client information that we provide pet owners in clinic, and repeat bookings and campaigns.
Yeah, so if I think about the example that you showed of those appointment types, Vicky, the kind of popular ones, if I pick pet health check, for example, typically seen by the nurses in clinic, and could be, I guess, misbooked, if that's the right term to it, misbooked by pet owners. What we can do is we can provide an option for something called a content page, which is essentially a disclaimer, to provide the pet owner with um, instructions
Mm-hmm.
that typically occur in the clinic. So, for example, with nurse appointments, if you're worried, go back a step and book a consultation with a vet. Or if you're booking an appointment with a nurse and you're thinking that maybe you might have a vaccine at the same time, actually, we don't want you to do that. That's not what we want you
Mm-hmm.
to do. Go back and select the vaccination type. Um, so yeah, those kind of instructions that
Yeah,
typically can be given um, for each of the appointment types, just to provide some clear guidance for the pet owners.
absolutely. And I think we're safe in saying that this is quite repetitive. There's a lot of instructions that will be given over the phone or in
Yeah.
person by the reception team, and they typically have a couple of minutes to provide that information as well before their next task. And if we can again just take some of that workload off you, this is of course really important. And again, some of the workload that we would like to help with is repeat bookings, those non-eventful, non-urgent bookings that we see throughout the year. And Antoinette, when you was in clinic, I remember you saying to me that things like the annual vaccines, boosters were really probably one of the most popular appointments that was booked with you. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. Certain times of the month as well, month end, or when the booster reminders go out, you see that kind of spike in call
Mm-hmm.
volume coming through. So yeah, commonly in clinic we would be booking those types of appointments, the boosters, the annual vaccines,
Yeah.
the kind of wellness plans where they get the 6 month or yearly checkups. If it was a well, we've just had Dental Awareness Month, haven't we, in
Yep.
February? So those kind of campaigns, seasonal campaigns that might see,
Yes.
so maybe an increase in we've done some kind of promotion for free dental checks. So again, call volume goes up for those repeat bookings.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Excellent.
Um,
So I'll show you again how we can help with those all important instructions and repeat bookings. So again, we've got this lovely feature called content pages, and as Antoinette mentioned, commonly known to us as disclaimers at Vetstoria. And forgive me, there's a few that I made earlier there. There's a bit of a list, but I'll walk you through this. By clicking on the disclaimer box, what we are in essence doing is creating a Word document for your pet owners to read and acknowledge at the time of booking. And like any Word document, you would give it a title here. So it could be key information, for the nurses here. And in the body here, you can, of course, write your text, change the format. But what's really fundamental is that we can ensure that the pet owners tick this little box here to say they've read and understood these terms and conditions before booking the appointment online. And in one of the examples that I'll show you, if we look at the nurse disclaimer, so if you imagine a pet owner's booking in a nail clip with one of the nurses, before they make their selection and confirm this, they will see this message appear on the screen. So it will just politely say that this is with one of the registered veterinary nurses. If they have a medical concern, please go back a step and schedule a consultation with the vet. So again, just making sure that we're setting those expectations for the pet owners exactly how you would in clinic. And this can be used, this feature, not just per appointment. You may have universal messaging, which we saw used very heavily during COVID-19. Let's hope we're not ever back there again. But there would be disclaimers to say, please wait outside, wear a mask, use hand sanitizer. That would be applicable to all. So any important messaging that you would like to use, we can accommodate here as well. And then, of course, as Antoinette mentioned, repeat bookings. So how do we save you time here? Those non-eventful, non-urgent bookings, such as the booster vaccines, how can we get them to book online? Again, freeing up that phone line for somebody who really does need to talk to you, or free you up to, of course, manage those array of different tasks that you deal with in clinic. And you'll notice on the left here, under the integration tab, we integrate the booking tool on many platforms, whether it's the website, social media, Google My Business, and you'll see there is a little link here called reminders. So if you imagine that you send out those booster or vaccine reminders by email, text message, perhaps you do it by postcards, you can embed this link into that material, or that QR code on the right there. So if you're the pet owner, you get that text message that Apollo is now due their booster. Rather than calling you, I can simply click on the link and book this appointment online. So it's such a popular method, and it has been shown to reduce the call volumes dramatically. So this is probably one of my favorites, to be honest with you. In addition to this, we have another feature called digital marketing. So when Antoinette was mentioning Dental Awareness Month, this digital marketing campaign that we can set up for you, and again, apologies, I've got quite a few that I've tested and demoed here. But if we look at the free dental check as an example, what you are able to do, and of course with Vetstoria's support, is you can set up the campaign digitally speaking. So we create an appointment called free dental check. But what's really wonderful about this feature is you decide how long that is on offer for. Perhaps it is ongoing, but you may want to do it, say, for the month of February or the month of May. But you decide. And you decide what the appointment is in length here, the species it's applicable to, as well as the doctor's column and the hours of available slots. So you can decide and create many rules based on this appointment. And for Dental Awareness Month and Rabbit Awareness Month, etc., this is very popular. And once you've set this up, you're actually provided with a unique booking link that you can see at the bottom here. So this link you can blast out in a universal newsletter, you can pop it on social media, you can print off the QR code and put it in your waiting room. So you're drawing in those appointments, but ultimately your clients are booking online. They are not going to be overloading your front desk team with those calls and campaigns that you have throughout the year. And one really lovely feature about this, you can clone it for next year as well. You just need to change the dates, but you can clone and repeatedly use these as time goes on. Excellent. I'll just go back to the presentation here. Right. So our solution, Vetstoria's online booking platform. So as you can see on the screen, approximately 42% of online bookings were made out of hours. So what this means is, say you close at 6 p.m., Monday to Friday, and you reopen at 8 a.m., That time of the evening and early morning, pet owners are going online, perhaps while they're having dinner, winding down for the night, or perhaps before the school run, and they're going online and booking those all-important appointments. And what's lovely about this is that that takes some of the pressure away in the morning when you start for the day. You haven't got a queue of people ringing through to you. Half of them, or just under, should we say, have booked the appointment already online. And also in the middle here, we have clinics who are able to provide over 1.5 million hours of pet care. Now, this figure comes from the fact that in 2023, Vetstoria booked in excess of 5 million appointments worldwide. So we are global, we're in a number of clinics, and we're able to take, again, those non-urgent, non-eventful appointments online. We're still able to provide care to your pet owners and pets, but it frees up some of that time for you so you can focus on those other urgent tasks. At the end of the booking journey, we do have a little survey where pet owners can say how satisfied they were with the booking experience. And as you can see here, collectively, 94% of pet owners were satisfied and engaged with the tool. So we know that this is something that pet owners, of course, really enjoy using. Now, on this slide here, again, this is data pulled through from Galaxy Vet's burnout paper last year. And when I was reading this, there was a quote in there that said that one of the biggest sources of stress for clinics was the unpredictability of the day, the heavy workload, and inefficient scheduling. So that stuck out. And these comments that you can see on the screen are extracts and open responses that was collected from veterinary teams. So this has all come from members of the veterinary industry. So if we just look at the schedule here, so what veterinary professionals are crying out for is to schedule blocks for records, charts, callbacks, making sure lunch hours are scheduled, no surgeries between appointments, encouraging those break times, which we mentioned a little bit earlier, which is proven to boost morale and productivity, no sick or complicated cases, and reducing the hours the hospital is open. So what's Vetstoria able to do? We can put those block-offs in place exactly how you can in clinic. We can make sure those lunch hours are accommodated for. We can ensure that no sick or injured cases are booked in, at the end of the day. And we can, of course, work with you to ensure your opening hours. Billing here, as we've touched on today, charging clients for no-shows. Well, we can try and prevent that by taking a payment upfront. So by taking a payment upfront, hopefully will allow for better engagement and commitment from those pet owners, but they will be charged ultimately. So let's hope that they show up. Otherwise, they will lose out, unfortunately. And then the caseload management, no double booking. As mentioned before, Vetstoria does not allow double bookings to occur. We always take into account what is happening in your practice management system. You can limit the types of appointments booked online, whether it's sick or complicated, but also those routines, as Antoinette mentioned earlier. And we also can provide telehealth or video appointments. And one thing that was very key in Dr. Ivan's study here is improving customer scheduling, improving call volumes, and automating processes. And of course, this is what Vetstoria can help you with and ultimately save you time. So just to move on here, I'll just leave this on the screen for a moment if you'd like to scan that QR code. But here we can see Rebecca from Osage Veterinary Clinic, who said that it reduced their call volume by 40% utilising Vetstoria. So they said that it saved the front desk team between 3 to 4 hours a day, which is around 18 to 24 hours a week, considering a phone call would range from 5 to 15 minutes. So, of course, maybe those 5-minute appointments are your existing clients booking in a vaccine, compared to a new client where you have to register their details and information can take a bit longer. Calder Vets said they save 40%, 40, sorry, plus hours every month after integrating online appointment scheduling. And what was really key for Danielle at Calder Vets here was the customer service. So we can see in her quote that the quality care for pet owners was key, and Vetstoria helps with that by optimizing the online booking experience. So this allowed their team to spend time on other tasks and the client journey, paying attention to pet owners in practice while reducing those calls. So again, of course, we want to save you time, but we want to make sure that you, the caregivers in clinic, are able to spend that quality time and give that brilliant customer service like you always do to those pet owners and consequently pets. Okay, so before we open it up for Q&A, I just want to conclude by saying that we really do value your role as receptionist, both personally and professionally. Antoinette and I have worked with many veterinary receptionists, or should I say customer care coordinators, which I think is a better term, and how fundamental you are in clinic. And what we want to recognise is the importance of time. You know, this is your most valuable resource. And we want to serve, as I mentioned earlier today, as that extra arm. We just want to be an extension of you to take away some of that workload so that you can focus more on those crucial and important tasks. One consideration and food for thought as well is years ago, online booking was deemed as a little bit of a nice to have. In recent years, I think we can agree it's a necessity, and many industries use online booking. So one question I'd like you to sort of consider and walk away with today is, what pain points or challenges can Vetstoria help you with? And what time can we help you save so that you can work on those other tasks in clinic? So just a little bit of food for thought there, but we'll open it up for the Q&A as well here. So I'm just going to check the chat. What you'll also notice in the chat is those links to Galaxy Vet's burnout study. There'll also be the BVRA survey as well, which is fantastic. Really, really fun, brilliant group that are doing a lot of work to support receptionists. And we've also got Vetstoria's Try It Yourself link if you want to see it from the pet owner perspective as well. So that's in the chat. So Elizabeth has asked, if we schedule by colour in Cornerstone and our appointments are 20 minutes, will Vetstoria override the colour designations CS? The answer is no. So we actually, Cornerstone, I really do like in the US and Australia. And what we're able to do is synchronise with your colours, Elizabeth. So say you have the colour yellow for your vaccines. We will sync with those when we're setting up the appointment type. So any online bookings will land as yellow if they're vaccines, of course. So we can synchronize and mirror that. And again, it doesn't have to be 30 or 15-minute appointments. If you use 20-minute durations, we can accommodate that as well. Okay, then we have from Anonymous, how do we deal with clients who we actually want to speak to? Okay. So that's a really good question. And what I will do, I'm just going to, again, exit the presentation. There we are. Because in the back end of Vetstoria, in your account, we do, and again, this is very popular with receptionists, and I know why, we have what we call a block list feature. So this is where we can log, say, a client that you would prefer to speak to over the phone. We will log here their email, their telephone, and if you've got their IP address, we can log that too. Now, you don't have to have all three. We can mix and match here, as you can see on the screen, and add additional numbers as well. But basically what happens when we log the information here and Victoria tries to book an appointment online, it will say that they are unable to book an appointment at this time. So it doesn't look like they're blocked. It looks like a technical issue has occurred and they're instructed to give you a call at the clinic instead. So this is how we can manage some of those clients that you actually would prefer to talk to. Perfect. Let me have a look for any other questions here. Okay, emergencies, potential emergencies, booking online. How can Vetstoria handle that? And again, this is a really good question. So, during the booking journey, we have messaging, and I'll show you that in a moment, how to, what they should do if they are indeed facing an emergency or they're a bit panicked. But we have, again, a very popular feature called appointment screening. Now, appointment screening allows us to add keywords that we would like to be flagged during the booking process. So here we can see a very long list of words the client may use. So if you can imagine they're booking in a consult, we then ask the pet owner, why are you booking in this consult? What's the reason? If they were to type in words such as blood, bleeding, bloated, straining, all of those terrifying words that we deal with in clinic day to day, what will happen? A message will appear on the screen to say, please call your nearest out of hour provider or call the clinic directly, depending on your setup here. So we don't want these clients to book online. We want them to stop what they're doing and give you a call instead. And as mentioned, on the actual booking tool itself, there is messaging in various places that say, is this an emergency? So in the scenario where a pet owner is in fact a bit panicked or unsure, you can tailor messaging here for them to give you a call. And again, that is down to your preference, but we can just make sure we signpost them to the correct individuals. So very good question there. Okay, so Elizabeth, you've mentioned regarding inactivated clients. I'll have to check that because it will vary per PIMS. So I can always check that for you with regards to Cornerstone. Now, the reconciliation for a Vetstoria deposit in Cornerstone. So what will happen is the payment will be taken and will land, say, within your Stripe account. So that's secure. That's with your sort of finance team as a clinic. Now, what will happen when you get the appointment land in Cornerstone, it will tell you that that new client has paid £20, for example. So in that instance, you will need to then update their account to say that they've made that payment. So you'll be notified in the appointment note in Cornerstone, but you'll also be notified via email that that payment has taken place. I hope that helps. Any other questions at all? I'm just scanning through here. Nope, I think we are okay. So just to finish the presentation today, let's go through here. I just would like to leave you on this screen. If you want to learn more about Vetstoria, again, this QR code will take you to sort of our demonstration page if you'd like to talk to our team further. But as mentioned in the chat, there are some links there that you may find really useful. So try it yourself so you can see what the pet owner experience is. You'll be able to see vetstoria.com's website. We have got a huge amount of resources for you, whether it's past blogs, webinars, resources that you can download for free and use in clinics, such as those posters or dental campaigns that you're doing throughout the year. So feel free to familiarize and have a nosy around our website because there's loads of useful information there for you. And just thank you so much, Antoinette, for joining me today. And thank you again for everybody that has attended. And I believe there will be a follow-up email and this will be available if you'd like to watch it on playback as a recording, and it will be available on vetstoria.com as well. But thank you, everybody.